You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz. For great radio, get commentary and news of the day.
Malpractice of the
Lanterns.buzz.
century performed on him, thanks to his mother and some clearly inept doctors. A warning that although medicine is important, we need to consider carefully how much we trust in it.
You're listening
On tonight's
to the Bells of Liberty
Constitutorial, we're backing up
podcast,
to catch the
where
18th
freedom
and
rings
21st
and the
Amendments, and
sassiness
of course,
stings.
no show would be
Stay
complete
tuned
without ringing the
for a
bell.
little
So,
bit of sassy
Rocky,
freedom.
if I break into a sweet rendition of Oh Holy Night, how racist am I?
On a scale from 1 to KKK, you mean?
Yes.
Because clearly, everything is racist. And in case you want to know what is racist or not, I'm going to let the social justice warriors show you the way. The latest victim is Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, also savior of Christmas, and now social justice warrior. And of course, this is depending on who you ask. This past weekend, Huffington Post's Ed Matza went deep into the weeds, uncovering all sorts of scandalous horrors that are enough to turn even the buddiest of elves into the Grinch himself. Bullying, lack of diversity, verbal abuse, and bigotry are among the high crimes that the 53-year-old movie of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer has committed. But don't think that this was some well-thought-out analysis. Oh, no. This article was merely a compilation of tweets from people who were basically SJWing the heck out of a movie that's as traditional as Gingerbread Men. People were criticizing the whole cast of the movie for various reasons. Comet, the sports coach, was a bully. Donner, Rudolph's dad, forced Rudolph to wear a prosthetic nose and hide who he really was so he could appear to be more normal. And he also told his doe-eyed wife that searching for the runaway son was man's work, which is clearly a metaphor for women staying home barefoot and pregnant while the husband go and do all the hard work. And the same thing with Hermie the elf. Hermie wants to be a dentist, but no. Elves must be dedicated solely for the purpose of making merry and making toys for children for Christmas. Since people want to ruin things, they clearly miss the end of the story where the antagonists all learn a lesson, that there is beauty in all of us and that we are all great despite our differences. Those who were mean and terrible learned that that's not the way others should be treated. A valuable lesson that I wish parents taught kids nowadays. But wait, there's more. Because social justice warriors can't leave well enough alone, there's more to the dark underbelly of holiday cheer. Because now, according to a professor from the Boston University, the song Jingle Bells is racist. So, yeah, there's that. So Professor Kyla Hamill, she claims that the song has racist origins and that according to her, quote, research, it was originally performed in blackface theater. I didn't know that this was a thing, but according to her research, it was. That some of the words used during the song were words that were used by black people at the time. Anyway, here's a portion of her thoughts. Open quote. Although One Horse Open Sleigh, for most of its singers and listeners, may have eluded its racialized past and taken its place in the seemingly unproblematic romanticization of a normal white Christmas, attention to the circumstances of its performance history enables reflection on its problematic role in the construction of blackness and whiteness in the United States. Now, tell me that doesn't sound like any other professor that just loves the sound of their voice and they just like to talk for the sake of talking, forming mostly incoherent statements just by using big words. Because I'm sorry, I tried to read that sentence like 5 or 6 different times, and I was trying to identify what is it exactly that you're trying to say.
Yeah, I was literally lost.
Everything is racist when you're a white supremacist. That's what she's trying to say.
I'm like, what? What are you saying? So you're using all of these big words, but you're not saying anything. And in reading the Daily Wire story, I found no real solid evidence of what makes the song racist. So it's like, what is your research based on? Because you're not saying anything that, tells me, aha, this is really racist because of this. And it's clear. You're just a whole bunch of gobbledygook that just sounds great, but you're not saying anything. Much like your typical SJW, they'll use these big buzzwords, to narrate or to create a narrative that's not there. And in this case, it's not there. But hey, I guess White Christmas is racist because clearly the song is about how only whites should celebrate the holidays, and it has nothing to do with the fact that wonder is associated with Christmas, or winter is associated with Christmas, and with winter comes snow, which is clearly white. So I honestly don't know, because that's the next one. They're coming, if they haven't done so already, they're going after White Christmas and the wonderful, wonderful Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye film and Rosemary Clooney, and everything is racist. Literally everything is racist, and SJWs can't leave holidays alone.
But I mean, Kwanzaa celebrates blackness, so.
At the rate that this is going, the next major holiday is Valentine's Day, and they're probably going to declare that Rape Culture Day, because clearly, you trying to show your affection to someone is you forcing your feelings and emotions on me, and since it's unwanted, it's clearly sexual harassment and enforcing Rape Culture Day.
Meanwhile, forgetting that St. Valentine was imprisoned and had his head chopped off, I think, for reasons that I can't recall at the moment. So the whole idea of Valentine's Day is kind of grotesque. Yeah,
well, you celebrate it whichever way you want to celebrate it, but it just speaks volumes to the attitude that the SJWs just want so much attention to themselves that they'll bend reality in such a way that it's not reality anymore. It just becomes some grotesque version of an alternate universe. They want literally for people to live in a bizarro world where down is up and wet is dry and hot is cold.
Well, it's like in Portlandia, when they're at the bookstore and they're having a protest class, and they're like, if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. That's literally everything that comes up on our calendar. The SJWs have to find something to be outraged about. Doesn't matter what it is, you have to be pissed off. Because white people.
There's outrage in everything, and these people will not let you forget about it. And if you have, they'll go into a long dissertation using, Scrabble winning words to explain to you how terrible everything is according to them.
I can't wait for the word problematic to become problematic. Because I am so sick of that being the term. Mm-hmm. This is XYZ is problematic. XYZ is problematic. This is problematic. That is problematic. You know what's problematic? That you can't find another word to express that something is problematic. We have words with friends. Learn some vocabulary.
No, don't you understand? They're too busy trying to find issues with everything that they cannot think of any other new words to use.
And now that I've said that, I'm sure Words with Friends is racist because it was created by somebody who was probably white and just uses white-friendly words. So,
Clearly.
That's problematic.
And the lady who was saying how they used words that Black people would have used back in the day, like English words. Like, what words are going to start to be, on the don't speak list? Like, are we all going to have to start speaking Spanish?
Well, no, because according to her, it's that the way that the words are used were characteristic to Black people who lived in the South. And because the song, I guess, was copyrighted up in Boston, it was almost like, like you're making fun of Black people by writing this song and copywriting it, and you're using their language. It's like...
Again, English?
Exactly.
Dashing through the snow?
Apparently dashing through the snow is some sort of dog whistle.
On a one-horse open sleigh.
Clearly.
I'm reading that as a sleigh that is without doors, that is being pulled by a single horse.
Yeah, exactly.
How's the rest of the song go?
Over the hills we go, laughing all the way.
Over the hills. Over the hills. So
is it over or the hills?
Over the hills we go. So
laughing all the way.
We've determined that a V no longer exists. Does that mean?
Yeah, but in the India national anthem also had or.
Well, because I'm assuming that was the way people wrote it. Because they also said, tis and twas and
all of that,
these and does and stuff like that. Like
Old English.
English. They spoke English. Laughing all the way. Oh, are we laughing at Black people? Is that
bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright?
Yeah, bobtail being horses with trimmed tails that
with
have bells on them.
Oh, what fun it is to sing a sleighing song tonight.
What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Yeah, I'm sorry. I
failed to find.
I'm telling you, it's English.
You guys can see me. Am I Black? Because I feel like these are words that I use. Did I not realize that I was Black? Because those are words I use.
These are words that are still used to this day. So I'm just, individually each word, with the exception of or.
I don't really say or the hills anymore, but I suppose if there were an opportunity and a need
at that time, but
I could make it work. But I'm assuming it was similar to like y'all, maybe. I mean, it kind of contracted the word. I don't know. I don't know why they'd say that. Maybe it's because it's just faster to say.
Because you're white and you don't understand why it's racist, and you'll never understand. So don't try, but just know that you're racist,
and that's problematic.
Exactly.
That's problematic.
Exactly. Anyway, don't be a Grinch and don't be racist. And the Bells of Liberty will be back on Lanterns Radio Network. Welcome back to the Bells of Liberty on Lanterns Radio Network. Jana, can you tell me about who Kayleen Bowen is?
Why, yes, Rocky, I can tell you who Kayleen Bowen is. And I'd be happy to, because everyone should know the name of this crazy person. So, December 6th, I believe, if I read this story correctly, Kayleen Bowen Wright was charged with injury to a child and jailed on a $150,000 bond because she has put her 8-year-old son through more than 300 doctor visits and at least 13 surgeries that had literally nothing to do with saving his life because he wasn't actually sick. According to his mother, she has known for a long time that he has had multiple illnesses, all beginning when he was newborn. and has therefore needed a lot of treatment that in reality was unnecessary. CPS finally removed the child back in November with he and his two half-siblings. According to them, she would take her son Christopher to hospitals in Dallas and Houston with a variety of complaints, resulting in 323 medical appointments and 13 major surgeries. Christopher had been put on a feeding tube, confined to a wheelchair, and when he was removed from his home, was on oxygen that he didn't actually need. And in actuality, had perfect health, except for the 3 times that he developed blood infections from the various unnecessary medical treatments that he was receiving. I don't even really know where to start with this, because this poor child has been through so much, and he's been on the planet a total of 8 years. And just to not only have a parent that is willing to do this to you, because this is obviously a clear call for attention for mom, but to go through all of these tests, these diagnostics, these tests, these surgeries, and not actually need them, and have the medical community so utterly fail you for as long as they have. I mean, this child went through, obviously, blood testing, radiological exams, surgeries to put in feeding tubes, ports, PICC and central lines. Obviously had to deal with the repercussions of having blood infections, all because of things that were inserted into his body that didn't need to be. So, yes, mom, totally insane, should need to suffer the consequences of that. I think that's pretty simple. I think everybody can agree that she needs to see the inside of a jail cell. However, I think most of these hospitals need to pay a pretty hefty fine price of some kind in malpractice, because I don't know, even if mom did do all the doctor shopping that they claim that she did, how nobody finally just said, we're not going to do that because it's medically unnecessary, when he went through all of these radiological tests and diagnostics, and if he was unhealthy, one would assume that would show. I mean, Sammy, you're our resident doctor.
Yeah, I mean, and I've had 13 surgeries in my life. It's not a little thing to go through, even quote unquote minor surgeries. It's still, especially for someone 8 years old, I can't imagine it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had knee surgery when I was 19, and technically it was outpatient because I went in for surgery and I was home that afternoon. But it certainly was not a very outpatient-y experience. I was laid up for at least 2 weeks on the couch because I wasn't supposed to walk, and then I was on crutches for 2 months. I can't even imagine what it's like to have a feeding tube put into you and to not even need it. I mean, that's just obnoxious. And obviously this child is going to be dealing with the mental repercussions of this, because I'm sure his mom has pretty much convinced him that he's dying of something. And now he's got to come to terms with the fact that his life was essentially put in danger to satisfy whatever his mom's needs were. So that's one aspect of it. But, this isn't the first time we've seen hospitals, and I keep coming back to this because I feel like we hold the medical community to such a high degree. We trust these people to go to school for as long as they have, 8 years, getting their degrees, getting their certifications, their licenses, and being okie dokie to do the things that they do. And so we trust them with our health, and we go to them and trust that they'll be able to make the right decision on what our healthcare needs are, whether it's needing to be put on medication for something, or some treatment for whatever illness we might have, or to not miss something when we go in for our physicals or our blood work and things like that. And I think we get held to such a high degree with them that it's kind of like whatever they say goes, and that they can do no wrong. And obviously, as 3 discerning women here, we all are very suspicious of most people, so it's easy for us to be like, no, I think I'll need a second opinion, or maybe not. I'll do my own research. But I feel like, generally speaking, people trust doctors to make the right decisions every time, and yet this is not the first case of a child being held kind of hostage, not only by family or by hospitals.
Well, and pediatric teams, specifically in like urgent cares, emergency rooms, they're given specific training to identify like Munchausen's by proxy, meaning parents keep bringing their kids in for symptoms that they don't have. So the show, The Exorcist, is on Fox right now. And this is actually one of the plot lines of this season, is this woman was like poisoning her daughter, trying to convince everybody that her daughter was possessed by a demon and needed to be exorcised.
Well,
it makes me cringe. Well, it just makes me cringe wondering what this woman did to get these lab results that she was seeking to prove that her child was sick to some poor doctor. You know what I mean? It just makes my skin crawl thinking about what she could have done to this kid.
Well, and what's even scarier is, according to the article that I'm reading right now, he started receiving hospice care for pain management, and his mother signed a do not resuscitate order for him when he was 5.
Oh, God.
What?
So this is, oh my goodness. Whether she has a diagnosable condition or not, I don't even really care. This woman should, there are so many things about this that I'm like, how did no one not see that this was false? I don't know how you can go to school for 8 years, be a doctor for however many years, and not be able to say, we're not seeing what you're saying you are seeing. He was discharged from hospice care in April 2015 when his mom wouldn't cooperate with an 8-week medical plan aimed to allow him to live without the feeding tubes, IV, hydration, and oxygen, to try to help him live a somewhat normal life. And mom had said, well, it's because her insurance denied the treatment plan. And then he was admitted for a blood infection related to his catheter. And then they reevaluated taking him off of IVs and oxygen and stuff. CPS was called this last time because a doctor suspected that she was trying to induce seizures in him. And that's why he called CPS. And then CPS came and investigated and was like, well, he's talking about playing with his brothers and playing on the monkey bars and stuff, which a kid on oxygen probably wouldn't be able to do with as much ease as he appeared to be. So one person, and yes, that's all it takes is one person, but how long has this been going on? This woman has claimed since he was born there was something wrong with him.
This article is saying, according to Bowen's arrest warrant affidavit, investigators believe Bowen began abusing her son as early as April 24, 2009, when Christopher was only 11 days old because the baby was born prematurely. Hospital staff spotted Bowen pouring out milk that her son didn't finish, then lying to medical professionals saying he'd had the whole bottle. So she was already starting to starve this baby at 11 days old. How is it that this woman wasn't closely monitored?
I can't.
And it took 8 years for a person to finally say, you know what, that gives me the heebie-jeebies. Perhaps I should contact CPS.
Well, apparently they had contacted CPS a number of times in 2011 and 2012. The last case, I think, prior to this particular occasion was in 2015, and apparently a care provider had noticed that it seems like this kid is being taught to say that he's sick when there's nothing wrong with this child, and something along the lines of, the kid would lose weight when he was at home, but at the hospital he'd be okay. And the mom was claiming that the doctors were giving her false information, and she's swearing up and down that there's something the matter with her child. So CPS had apparently been made aware that there was something going on with this mother in this particular situation, but they always say they're trying to prove that a mother is purposely making a child ill, or saying that a child is ill, that's inconceivable. So clearly it means that the child is actually ill. So let's just close the case.
Well, I find that hard to believe. I understand that there has to be a burden of proof, but I have seen parents lose their kids for far less.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen them lose them for far more ridiculous things. And weren't we did a story on Amy Fabrini, a woman who lost both of her children because she and their father are considered too stupid to take care of them in the government's eyes.
Yeah.
And yet this woman for 8 years has actually been abusing her child by denying him the ability to live a normal life, has obviously been doing things to him to make him appear ill. And it's taken 8 years to remove him. And I understand that you have to look at things at a case-by-case basis, but I feel like this is pretty clear. You know, if there are people who are making reports and there's multiple reports, and it is frustrating sometimes as a mandatory reporter when you've reported something several times and nothing is done, and you know something is going on, but there's nothing you can do about it because it's not up to you. But to be like... I don't know. I feel like everything is upside down. We saw the case of Justina I can't say her last name. Pelletier. A few years ago, where a family was actually trying to get their daughter care for something, and a medical team completely overstepped their bounds and actually put the child in danger and essentially kidnapped her from her family. Again, trusting doctors to do the right thing. We've seen, CPS remove children from a family's care because they're not considered intelligent enough and capable enough to take care of their children when they've proven they are. And now we're here where, this child is in danger and needs to be removed from the family or returned to his dad, which is a completely different story because dad has been claiming from the beginning that mom has been making all of this up, but every family court they've been to has sided on mom's side, which is frequently something that fathers run into. Not only are they told they're not necessary, moms constantly get, sympathy from the courts unless they've done something so egregious it can't be ignored. Hello, I think we're there.
Yeah, and I feel bad for the father because he had said in the past that this woman had made allegations of her being ill even before she was pregnant. When do you realize that, that's something's the matter? And again, to the point that you were making earlier, like about the father, it seems that the father had always represented himself in family court, and the woman would just basically like turn on the waterworks, and the judge would be like, "Oh, it's okay. We'll send him home with you, so you won't have to worry about it." So because a woman cries, you just...
Yeah, the system is still really... Well, and I mean, it's always going to be when we've got things like Planned Parenthood and, these idiot feminists that think men are unnecessary, that, it's like, I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need no man to raise my baby. Then that resonates in our justice system, and that he doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt while mom is sitting over there going, oh, it's obviously he's sick. Oh, it's just crap. It's just crap. This kid was failed in so many ways, and like he's in foster care right now. But dad's hoping to get custody of him. And I'm like, dad shouldn't even have to go through this. I mean, if dad was not directly involved and there's evidence that he has been trying to get the court to see that something's been going on, the kid should just be in his custody now. He shouldn't have to go through this process. He shouldn't have to go through the added trauma of being with a family that's not his family.
It's like the same thing with putting him in a feeding tube.
Yeah, I mean,
feeding him with a feeding tube.
Anything put into this poor child's body if there was no evidence?
Can you just imagine that she wouldn't feed him? You know what I mean? Because he would have had to drop weight for them to deem it medically necessary. So she would have had to stop feeding him.
Exactly.
That just makes me... If I could go punch this woman in the face...
repeatedly?
I would do it.
Can we take turns?
Yeah.
It's just, there's so many things that I'm like, I'm not a doctor. I did not go to doctor school, but...
common sense.
I understand 1 + 1 actually equals 2.
But that's all the time that we have for this segment. Next up is going to be our Constitutorial. Stay tuned. The Bells of Liberty will be back on Lanterns Radio Network.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Welcome back to the Bells of Liberty on Lanterns Radio Network. On today's Constitutorial, we are going to discuss the 18th and 21st Amendments. Sammy.
Okay, so in the early 1820s, there was a spiritual revival that happened in our country. And as a result of that, people began to see alcohol as a curse on our country. And after the Civil War, a lot of states rallied around those sentiments. In fact, alcohol was banned in Massachusetts as a state in 1846, but it was quickly repealed. However, by 1916, 23 out of 48 states held anti-saloon league legislation, meaning obviously no saloons. So the 18th Amendment, as a nation, we banned the sale of alcohol. So, and not just the sale of it, the manufacturing and the transportation of said intoxicating liquors. But that led to an uptake in organized crime. As everyone knows, Al Capone, the speakeasies, blah, blah, blah. So by 1933, widespread public opinion led to the repeal of it, which is the 21st Amendment. So it's not like a huge bit of stuff we have to look over, but I did want to have the conversation with you ladies. So I have a lot of libertarian friends, as I'm sure you guys do too. And I consider myself a conservatarian because I can't go full libertarian. I just can't do it. However, they constantly use the 1821 Amendment as why we should legalize marijuana. And some even go as far as harder drugs, saying that the illegality is what promotes criminality. And so we should just legalize everything, and then the crime will go away, and then everyone will just be happy because we're all doing PCP.
You could use that theory with pretty much any law, as if we just made it legal, it would stop. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that wouldn't, because people were murdering each other before we made it illegal, so I don't know. It's just dumb. It's just dumb.
Not just that, but we don't want to get into that pitfall where if we allow one drug to be legalized, then we'll basically, like, for example, they always advocate for marijuana because it's the least, or at least they'll claim it's the least hard of the drugs, the least dangerous, quote unquote, according to them. But if you open the door to one, then shouldn't you open the doors to all of them? And what kind of country would we be if we allowed all of that to happen? Like, I understand the logic of it. If you make them legal, then you take away the mystery and the thrill that you get from doing something illegal. That I understand that aspect, but at the same time, it's what kind of country would we be if we allowed absolutely any and every illegal drug out there to be legal?
Well, and are people who are taking hard drugs or even just marijuana, do you really think they're doing it because it's illegal and it's exciting to do something illegal? Or do you think they're doing it because A, they just want to get high, or B, they're getting high because of a worse problem? It's like mental health, perhaps. That I would assume a lot of people, and this is off topic, obviously, but a lot of people self-medicate with booze or drugs because of something going on in their life or because of poor decision making. So I don't really see how making it legal is going to change those issues.
I know very little about illicit drugs, but I really don't. Like I said, much like Sammy was saying earlier, we consider, or at least I consider myself a conservatarian as well. But there are certain things that I do draw the line on, and legalization of recreational marijuana, I have issues with that. If we wanted to talk about legalization of the use of marijuana for medical purposes, that's a debate for another day, but that's a different, in which I have a different opinion. With illicit drugs or illicit substances to be made legal, I don't know. It's such a murky subject.
Well, I'm from Washington, so obviously Washington's one of the states that has legalized it. And the funny thing is, they all were like, oh, well, if you legalize it, then you can tax it, and then we can put all this money to schools. So it's going to benefit everybody. But here's the thing. They legalized it. They started taxing it. And now the pot users are pissed because the taxes are too high for them and they can't afford to get high as much as they used to. So they're still buying from their dealer and not a licensed legal seller of marijuana. So
the plan backfired.
I feel like perhaps people's reactions to these laws is not that they can't necessarily do what they want to do. It's that the government is telling them that they can't do what they want to do. So maybe if we made government illegal, we'd all just be happier and could get high whenever we want and get drunk whenever we want and not have to worry about getting taxed to death. How about that?
Taxation is theft.
I could get on board with that.
Well, and the other thing is, up until that point, alcohol was always legal, and then they tried to make it illegal, and then people were desperate and had speakeasies, moonshiners, all that stuff. These drugs have never been legal so it's not like something that was widely accepted and legal, and then it was just suddenly taken away. Mm-hmm. So there's a different, for me, that's where the libertarians lose me in their arguments. So that is another thing that was bothering me. And then this other thing, which is not really related, but kind of related, because my husband and I have been having this debate recently about the drinking age being 21. And people, I guess there's a push to lower it to 18. And I'm not for that for a couple reasons. One,
no.
The human brain doesn't fully develop until you're 21. That's why you can go see a pediatrician up until the age of 21. And the other reason is, where it is now, kids in college are getting it. You lower it to 18, you're looking at 14, 15-year-olds getting their hands on booze because seniors at their school are throwing a party. Not that they don't already, but I'm just saying it would be more than just stealing the beers out of your parents' fridge.
Yeah, I rarely am for the lowering of legal ages on anything. In fact, I'm more in favor of raising them, just because kids make dumb decisions all the time without booze being involved. I feel like adding alcohol to it would just make it worse. And I just, as you said, most people are not considered. And you know what? I feel like the legal age in general could be raised to 21 or older. I feel like that could happen, because I don't think at 18 you have had the experiences. I mean, maybe physically you are full grown, but I don't think at a mental, brain development level are you ready for the real world. So long story short, no, bad idea. Terrible, horrible idea. Let's not do that.
Honestly, since Obamacare changed the definition of what constitutes a child, if a child is a person aged 26 and under, and they can be under their parents' health insurance plan, then maybe we should change the drinking age to 26 and the voting age to 26.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that. Drinking.
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, I just saw this article talking about how young millennials are struggling now and panicking because they can't find insurance because they're about to go off their parents. And I'm like, guys.
Hello. That's called being an adult. Welcome to the real world where you have to pay for your own crap. Go figure.
Get yourself a job.
It just boggles my mind. I was 23, I believe. I had just bought my house. I was working 3-4 jobs at that point. My considered full-time job, I got to a lead position, so I was able to get my own benefits. I actually had a 30-plus-year-old boss who looked me in the face and said, "Why would you pay for your own insurance? You can stay on your parents' insurance until you're 26. Because I own my own home and I pay my own bills and my parents have done their duty and I think it's my turn to take care of myself. Thank you very much." She couldn't believe it. She's like, "Well, if I could have, I would have." Okay, and you're in charge. That's cool. So I'm like, I'm perfectly fine with paying for my own insurance. Do I think it should be affordable? Yes. But do I think my employer needs to be forced to give me insurance as a benefit? No. Do I feel like I need to be forced to have it if I don't want it? No. It just boggles my mind. But all these like, "Oh my God, guys, I'm almost 26. What am I going to do about insurance?" I don't know. Get a job that offers it.
No, Jana, we can't do that.
I know. It's like obnoxious. How dare I?
That's racist. I'm sure in some way, shape, or form that is racist.
I wasn't singing Jingle Bells. I just suggested they get their own insurance.
Well, with that, I don't know how we can talk any more about anything. So let's leave it here, come back with our Ring the Bells, and we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Bells of Liberty on Lanterns Radio Network. It is time to ring the bell. And since we did not have polls last week because, well, it was Saturday and we just wanted to get into heading straight to the weekend.
I'm pretty sure somebody forgot to post them.
That too. I was trying to not blame anyone.
I was making Christmas cookies, so was not available to post polls. So that leaves 2 other people who are also involved in this thing we call a show.
What was I doing last weekend?
Well, you were tweeting, so...
I was tweeting, but I'm trying to remember if that was the weekend that I had gone to the theme park. I don't know. I'm getting all of my days confused.
Yeah, no, you weren't at the theme park because you would have told me 10,000 times you were at the theme park.
And sent you pictures of it.
Yes.
Like I like to do.
So you can't squeegee your way out of this one.
Dang it.
Ma'am.
Dang it. Anyway, since we have no polls, we're just going to go straight ahead and talk about our stories for this week. So I'm going to go first. So back when Hurricane Harvey hit the Houston, Texas area, defensive end for the Houston Texans, J.J. Watt, was all over the news about his collecting $37 million that he had raised to help with the relief and recovery efforts, which is no small feat. Well, we have a soft spot in our hearts for Tim Tebow, and there's now a little bit of room for JJ too. Earlier this week, he tweeted out a picture of his new Reebok line of sneakers, and a soldier who I guess follows the defensive end, happened to tweet at him about whether they would ship the sneakers out to Afghanistan, where the soldier is stationed at. Watt wasn't sure, but he did ask the soldier to send his shoe size and address through DM so he could send him a pair. So another Twitter user said, probably in jest, well, why don't you just send the whole unit some of your shoes? And J.J. Watt decided that was exactly what he was going to do. He asked the soldier for all of their shoe sizes, and he will be sending those out. So that makes my heart very, very glad. J.J. has a well-known history of being kind-hearted and charitable, and his organization, the J.J. Watt Foundation, has helped many a middle school in the purchase of uniforms and helmets and general funding for sports programs. So JJ, give us a call. Give us girls a call. I'd love to talk to you.
Super attractive.
That is a solid gent right there. That is I've got room for you in my couch.
That's right.
Come sit between me and Sammy, and we'll just talk to you about football, even though I know very, very little about football.
Oh, you two are so embarrassing.
Oh, come on. I narrate out with you all the time
on the show, and you're all like, "Hey, call me. I send you my phone number." Oh.
I've nerded out with you on the superhero stuff. It's time for me to nerd out with my homegirl Sammy about sports.
That's right.
About sports dudes. So
sports guys.
Totally. Go team.
Sports guys, is that the technical term or just one you made up?
Sports contestants. Athletic contestants.
Dudes with six packs.
You sure?
Oh boy. I know why you guys are in it then.
Anyway, Jana, I think you're next.
Oh, am I? How did that come about?
I don't know. I flipped a coin and you were the winner.
Oh,
congratulations.
Well, and Sammy needs to get her article open and, silence the inevitable ad.
The ad only plays in my ear.
And yet makes her scream every time.
And we end up laughing because we just look at her face. It's like, what's going on? Commercial.
It's just an ad that only I can hear, but somehow is catastrophic. Okay, well, I don't have anything so nice as a dude with six packs sending free shoes to people that should probably get some free shoes. But this will make you think a little bit about how humanity is going to hell in a handbasket. Apparently, a group of activists led by the ever popular, well-known, super duper awesome, everybody loves him, Moby.
Ugh.
Dick? Moby Dick?
No.
Oh,
no.
And
Okay.
he is a dick. And he is bald, so...
Well, then perhaps his name is accurate, as he and his activists are currently trying to convince the Los Angeles City Board of Animal Services to turn all their shelter dogs vegan.
No.
Because, as you know, dogs don't eat meat. It's not natural. So they'd like to replace all of their regular kibble, which has, as most people who have dogs and know, contains things like turkey or chicken and lamb, with a plant-based formula kibble.
No.
I've got one of my dogs laying next to me right here. Hey, Hank, would you prefer carrots and peas for dinner tomorrow, or would you like to continue to have your chicken? He's looking at me, that chicken. He would like chicken. You want to know why? Because dogs eat meat.
Yeah, our dogs go out in the fields and find dead carcasses and bring them home. They don't go into people's vegetable gardens.
Yeah. I've had dogs that eat some fruits and vegetables, and they enjoy them. But I certainly don't think they'd enjoy an entire meal made of them. But according to this, the idea came from someone who claims he's researched vegan diets for animals, and that consuming only plant-based kibbles and foods eliminates certain behavioral and digestive issues. I bet it does, because they all die from starvation because none of them enjoy plant-based kibble.
Well, Moby should really go back to making really crappy electronica music. But, if he paid close enough attention in biology class, and when they talked about like the dinosaurs and the teeth that the dinosaur had, how the dinosaurs that had the sharp teeth is because they're carnivores, and the ones that had the flat teeth is because they were herbivores. Maybe he didn't pay attention to that part in class, but, I guess the science isn't settled on that.
Or possibly Moby and his crew here have decided that even animals need to have their political beliefs forced on them because they don't know what's best for themselves. So, I find this hilarious. And also Pet MD says that's actually a really bad idea. You need to feed your animal some sort of meat-based kibble or food because that's what's best for them. Go figure. Maybe because that's how their biologies are made. I understand some animals have allergies. I have a dog who's allergic to air at this point. But, that doesn't mean that I stop feeding him meats.
Yeah, I mean, Charlie had an allergy to proteins, and that just meant I had to cycle every 6 weeks so he didn't build up another immunity to it. Like, his vet was a super hippie and was vegan himself, but he said to make a dog be vegan is abuse. So.
And it is, because that's not what dogs are supposed to eat. If you want to make those choices for yourself as a human being because you're sentient and capable of making those decisions for yourself, go right ahead. If you want to kill innocent plants to feed yourself, then you go ahead and do that and watch those cucumbers cry. I, on the other hand, am going to continue eating turkey and chicken and things like that because turkey and chicken are delicious and should be consumed as such. All right. Well, after that bit is stupid, Sammy, what do you got?
Oh, I can top your stupid.
Oh, yay!
So this dude in Oregon, obviously our favorite state in the union, went around with a pair of scissors and tried to stab some people.
Oh. Yeah, that's not smart.
Yeah. When he was apprehended, he said that Taylor Swift made him do it.
Oh, I
How do you feel about
this? I knew it.
And, I mean, just looking at this guy's picture, obviously it was more than Taylor Swift, unless that's what he calls his drug dealer. But, at this point, his bail has been set at over $250,000 because this is not his first time being violent. But yeah, I mean, I know she has a song called Look at What You Made Me Do or whatever that I don't listen to because it makes me sad in my soul and I miss old Taylor. But that doesn't mean she made you do it. Taylor Swift is not the next Charles Manson, okay?
You know what happens when that happens.
Yep.
The Justice Warriors going crazy.
She was totally subliminally messaging this person to go stab people with scissors. Not the insanity that is Oregon. The terrible state that it is. In California, and I think California is getting a reprieve a little bit because of what is going through right now. I can't really make fun of them since, everything's on fire. But at the same time, it's like they're constantly competing for the most messed up state. In
the worst state of the country.
The worst. It's like Sally Khan and Lena Dunham. I can't choose which one because they're both equally terrible. But one just happens to do something dumb this week, so they get the winner's circle, and then next week it will be someone else. So it's kind of like that with California and Oregon.
I think they just take turns. It's like shared custody.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all we have for you tonight. Thank you, as always, for spending some of your weekend with us. Your continued support is truly appreciated. If you're new to the show, our latest episodes drop every Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, and when it does, you can find us on Twitter at Bells of Liberty, throwing a podcast party where we talk more about our topics, share links, gifts, and of course, our Ring the Bell polls when people remember to post them for you to participate in, and we share those results on our next episode. Twitter just isn't enough. You can also find us on Facebook at The Bells of Liberty, where we post our links, midweek chimes, when we remember to post them, and who knows what else because we're social media fluid. If you missed an episode or just want to go back and listen again, you can find us on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, and iHeartRadio, where all of our previous episodes are free and on demand for you to listen to. Or at least until the internet stops working because we lost net neutrality this week and everything is awful. So thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Good night.
Yes.
Thanks for listening to the Bells of Liberty podcast. Want to listen to more sassy content? All shows are available free on demand on Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Google Play Music. Have something to say? You can find us on Twitter at Bells of Liberty. and also on Facebook, www.facebook.com/The Bells of Liberty. And as always, keep calm and ring on.